The ducks.
Language is fundamental to cultural identity. This is important for all people, not just indigenous peoples, but for all people. It's a way of communicating and expressing oneself about your world, your values, your beliefs, your customs, your traditions, your food, your art, your culture, your dance. All of these forms is a way of communicating values and beliefs. And the importance of revitalizing language is basically up to each and every one of us individuals to learn and transfer that mother tongue. Here I am interacting, engaging with the community of youth, just a handful of them, but making sure that it's interactive, fun, and engaging so that it's meaningful, but full of feelings and emotions of wellness, and looking at keeping that language and maintaining what it is that we do have so that our future generations will be able to consider themselves as Shtlatlim, or an identity that they can relate to based on their cultural roots and the foundation of where they come from as a community. It is based on shared values and beliefs that has been passed down from generations to generations. And with a distinct language, we are able to identify who we are and where we belong to.
Hey, Snimur Shtlatlim. We are all Shtlatlim. Well, I want to tell you about my thinking about who we are. So I'm going to talk about, first of all, Shtlatlim. And from Shtlatlim comes Shtlatlimchich. That's our language. So the word Shtlatlim is our language. That's what we speak. And it's very important that we speak our language. If we don't speak our language, we're not Shtlatlim. That's the bottom line. We have to learn our language. We got to practice it. We got to use it. We're going to use it. So that's my main message is about our language, Shtlatlim and Shtlatlimchich. Another word that's used is Uchelmichch. The Uchelmichch applies for all nations, that speak their own language. Like anybody from anywhere else, that's Uchelmichch. That's everybody. So with us, when we say Uchelmichch, it's Shtlatlimchich we're talking about. So my thinking is, if we don't speak Shtlatlimchich, one day the governments will say, you are not, because you don't even speak your language anymore. You're English, just like everybody else. So that Shtlatlimchich is a very, very strong root. It's the main root to who we are. And as to who we are, we define ourselves through our language. We define ourselves and practice our culture through our language. Our way of life. So that is my bottom line message. The Shtlatlimchich has got to be used. And if we quit using it, we are not going to be able to define who we are. We do it only through Shtlatlimchich. We don't do it through the Indian Act. We don't do it through the federal government or the provincial government laws or anything. We do it through Shtlatlimchich. We are Shtlatlim. Shtlatlimchich. Niste.
إيل جاشن واس كنت سقيت وشاون جالم جاش كنت سقيت قاس سيلش شن تنوش من قلت الكاسة يساتم قلت إنشا أكين نس كتشنا وخلمت تيش تي التي تي أخميختا وخلمت تي وخات من كان كشوا كتاكستما تاكم أخميخا واش كشنا بتنوش من مسنوكش تيشين شين بتنوش من كقلش كقلوتش شدوا التا نيستي تستخدم في أخو ميخت نيسكا تشين وكلا شتوم شد قلوت سلتو ايخينش تاكم شوات تو قلتن تالي تي قلوتن سكاسة ويتلزمت إلى قيتكش أكمنم تي قلوتن سكاسة ينشا باب كان سوا قلن من قلوتنا نقا شنوا قلوت كشوات وان قلوت شوت إلى باب شوت كن شن بتنوشم كن قلن نشوى قلوتن شن قلوت تامش كبتنوش منن إن قلن قلوتنا شن تنوشم نسوا كغلش تليها إن قلوتنا شن والتا تي وبتنوش منن تي قلوتن شكنت سقيت سستيلا أكش كقلوت شتوالا يوخا ميخوا تشو أول هي قلوتن شتوالتا شكنت سقيت toch kent sina قاقن تنوشم سستيلا آتي نانسيلا قال أنتم موتاش تنكوا قلوتن وشوت سيلا كش سابنم تشو الكاسة قلوتن أكديد كش سيلا آتي شنة وسكس كشنة. Language is of importance to me when I walk Mother Earth. And, our language seems like, it's not strong. It's very hard to speak to people nowadays in the language because the language seems like it's second language now to us. Because, when I talk to people, I have to speak in English. Whenever, people ask me about the language, times they ask me a word or two or whatever they need. I do the best how I can tell them what the language and the words, whoever asks me about the language. The language is, should be the importance of all our people, from one of the fluent speakers and one of the teachers in schools. We need to get the language out more to the people. I try to do the best I can to teach the young ones, the children and the grandchildren, the language, to get the beginners, As you say, the language is, when you teach them early, they can grasp on to the language faster than the older ones. They have a hard time grasping the language. And And when we speak the language, we should practice using our whole mouth when we speak the language. But our language is it's not like English, comes straight out through the tongue. Our language uses all parts of our mouth when we speak the language. Through the roofs of our mouth, our cheeks, and our throat. How the statium language comes out of our mouth. So it's very important to practice using our whole mouth and tongue and throat when we try to speak the language. That's why when I try to talk to our people, practice using your mouth, your throat when we speak the language. Because as I say, it's very different than the English. I think that's all I can remember when I say about the language, all my relations.
Ai,